This is not Shanghai, it's China's capital city, Beijing. People are screaming in the middle of the night as they have been confined to their homes for almost a month. In the streets of Beijing, there are also massive disinfection and sterilization squads. While Shanghai remains under lockdown, the outbreak continues to worsen in Beijing. Authorities are escalating their controls. Several districts now require residents to work from home. Many neighborhoods have adopted close management. Couriers and delivery workers are prohibited from entering. Together, these measures have affected the mobility of more than 10 million people. Beijing has a total of 16 administrative districts with a population of permanent residents of over 20 million. The outbreak has now affected 15 districts. Some of the more critical districts involve a minimum population of 11.8 million people. Each administrative district in Beijing covers a large population, ranging from approximately 1 million to more than 2 million people. What's most notable recently is the newly added district on May 23rd, the Shijingshan district, located on the western side of the city. The government requires all its residents to work from home, and all neighborhoods within the district are subject to closed management. Previously, when examining Beijing's outbreak, the city was all red except for Shanghai, the CCP center and the political core of the western part of the city. Now the outbreak has also surfaced in the western part of Beijing, and the official announcement sounded vague. When reporting other districts, there are details such as the workplaces of identified cases or at least some addresses. But when announcing the 2 cases in the western part of the city, there are no details. Rumors have it that the 2 cases live in the Xichang district, an area where the Communist Party's powerful and wealthy live, and it's about a 10-minute walk from Tiananmen Square. We can't verify this kind of information, but what's certain is that Beijing, the capital of China, is a heavily fortified city, especially the Shanghai area, which is closely guarded by the CCP. It is a rather unusual occurrence that the western part of Beijing has been breached by the outbreak. The government subsequently issued a notice that Tiananmen Square would be closed from May 25th to June 15th. Those who want to visit it would need to make an appointment in advance with a green health code and a negative nucleic acid test within 48 hours, as well as a temperature reading. According to official reports, the outbreak is more serious in the northern and eastern parts of Beijing, and 12 subway stations in Changping district have been closed since May 23rd. This area is considered the bedroom sector of the city center. The population density is extremely high. In these areas, in addition to buses and subways being managed and controlled, taxis are banned as well. Currently, dine-in services are also banned in Beijing. Thus, restaurants are looking for ways to survive. Some have moved their freezers out, selling at the entrance or on the street side. Beijing has entered the era of street vendors. Look at the freezers. Food and beverage operators are struggling to survive.
Look at the food we have here. Hello, have a look. We have all kinds of small dishes. Take a look, all kinds of drinks, 10 renminbi each.
Prior to this, 14 districts across Beijing went through at least 6 rounds of nucleic acid testing. The infected areas went through at least a dozen rounds of district-wide testing. But nothing seems to be working, and the outbreak is getting worse. Some residents have told overseas Chinese media that it is very unreasonable that their neighborhood is upgraded to a control zone even though not a single case has been reported. Government regulations require that if one person in a neighborhood has been to places that are considered a risk area, the entire building with dozens of homes had to be cordoned off. After the lockdown, the government doesn't provide residents with supplies. Residents have to rely on themselves to order online. Younger people are fine, but older ones who don't know how to use the internet are in trouble. I'm asking now, the 14-day quarantine period in our neighborhood has passed without a single positive case. When can we be unlocked? When will we be allowed out? Can someone explain to us? Is there anyone to explain to us? Say something. Please answer me, ah? Don't shake your head. What is going on? Who is responsible here? Why is the neighborhood on lockdown? We have been locked up for more than 20 days and there's not a single case in the community. More than 20 rounds of nucleic acid tests have been done. All is normal. Why can't we unlock it? Can someone give us an explanation? This resident is questioning the staff of the neighborhood committee, but she stares at the computer screen without answering him or even looking at him. More districts have banned the entry of delivery and courier staff, and people have to go to a fixed location to get their online orders, which has sparked public complaints. They say the risk of infection hasn't been reduced but has increased as people gather at the door to pick up the delivery. But the government has long been accustomed to crowds gathering during outbreaks. Large-scale nucleic acid testing with residents lining up is a common scene in Beijing, but the Epidemic Prevention Department doesn't consider it risky of infection. On May 24th, officials reported that on the 23rd, there were 41 new local confirmed cases in Beijing. From April 22nd to May 23rd, Beijing has reported a total of 1,522 cases of local infections. Due to the Communist Party's habit of covering up the truth, outsiders have questioned whether the figures are understated. More Beijing residents are now aware that as the number of housebound residents continues to increase and multiple districts have raised their level of control, the date when their normal life can be restored has become unpredictable. The government should give our people a safe living and working environment. Now we support the mass testing work. But first, there are a few testing sites. Second, the service is not good enough. And third, the operational hours should be extended. We also know that the medical staff work very hard. But after we survive this period, we will be good. So I hope the government will increase efforts. One is the strength of testing efficiency. Another one is the improvement of the service. I worry that the pandemic will never go away. How can I not be worried? If the business is not good for a long time, then no one can hold up for too long. Yes, I'm afraid. I'm merely holding up. Compared to the Shanghainese, residents in Beijing are lucky as they are learning a valuable lesson from the Shanghai people's tragic experiences. On the Chinese internet, there are many articles and posts on how to stock up on food. For example, this article from April 28th is titled, "Living in Beijing, How I Have Become a Hoarder Step by Step." The author is a young single woman who used to follow the danshari, or decluttering and detaching philosophy in her posh life. But now she has turned her home into something like a warehouse of a retail store. In addition to filling up the fridge, she bought a freezer and a vacuum machine. She evacuates bags of frozen food to maximize freezer space. She wrote, "Every day when I look at my friends' circles on WeChat in Shanghai, I have to ask myself if I have enough to eat if I am quarantined at home. While playing out in my head, I think about what items I can spare and swap them for fresh vegetables and green onions." It was on May 12th that news broke that Beijing would lock down the city, although the government issued a statement specifically to dispel rumors and claim that Beijing had sufficient supplies. Beijing residents immediately rushed to shopping malls and supermarkets to snatch up supplies. The Shanghai anti-epidemic practice is spreading among cities in China, including the practice of one infected individual triggering the quarantine of an entire residential building. This is a Beijing neighborhood on May 20th. It has 36 high-rise residential towers with a population of more than 10,000. It had been under lockdown for a month after several positive cases were found. Now suddenly, at least 5,000 people who tested negative for nucleic acid tests have been asked to vacate the buildings and be quarantined. One resident wrote on Weibo, "If I'm guilty, let the virus punish me instead of living and being tested constantly for 28 days, despite being negative. It's torturing and devastating. I don't know what's the point of living." Some residents in Beijing have been sent to the neighboring cities in Hebei province for quarantine. This is people at the wholesale market being taken away for quarantine. See Dabai. These people in white hazmat suits, the epidemic prevention workers. Now it's 10:12 at night. Police are everywhere. Beijing, the political center, is different from Shanghai, which is an economic center. The streets and alleys of Beijing are full of various sorts of hidden talents. For example, in other cities, an official at the level of director is considered an important figure locally. Yet in Beijing, people joke that there are directors everywhere. A seemingly ordinary citizen might be a relative of some very important figures. It's where high-ranking government and military officials gather. As a result, sometimes lower-level police and epidemic prevention officers are seen hesitant to be aggressive because they never know who they are dealing with. Everyone else has applied for a pass, why don't you?
I'm illiterate and don't know how to apply.
You don't know how to get the access card. I can help you if you bring the property license. I can help you apply.
I don't have a property license.
How do you live here then?
I wandered here. You take my picture. Are you done?
I tell you, Auntie, you have to cooperate with our epidemic prevention inspection. Don't make it difficult for us.
You guys are preventing the epidemic? You're standing here like gangsters.
Don't say stuff like that.
So what do you want me to say?
We'll only admit the pass.
Do whatever you like. Use your ancestors if you like. Are you done with the photo? I'll make a pose.
This woman shows a quality that's unique to Beijing natives. The political situation in Beijing will be made more complicated by the impact of the outbreak. Late in the evening of May 15th, Beijing University students gathered on campus in a mass protest. A wall was built overnight without notice to the students, dividing the dormitory area where thousands of students lived from the faculty and staff. Most of the free space was assigned to the faculty and staff area. They could move freely while the student areas were locked down and no takeout was even allowed. It angered the students. The Beijing University vice president went to the scene to speak to the students. I will go to each floor of each building to talk to everyone. Now please go back to your dorm in an orderly manner. If I don't visit any of the dormitories tonight, I will be held accountable. If any students in each dormitory have any opinions tonight, they can talk to me.
First, take down the wall.
In the end, the students knocked down the wall. Videos and discussions about the incident were quickly censored and removed from the Chinese internet. In the aftermath, news broke that political counselors at the university have encouraged students to report each other based on photos of the scene, and some students have even been reported by their peers. No further details are known at this time. The virus has breached the heart of the Chinese Communist Party. The forces at play in Beijing's control measures could trigger unpredictable events that could exacerbate the already volatile political scene in China in 2022.